So much on my mind, keep it all in line, juggling tasks that fall from the sky. Oh, what a scene, somewhere on this road, there is a load that's lighter for me. Show me the road that's lighter for me.
Welcome to episode 3 of the parenting series, Chaos to Calm. In this series, we look at those all too familiar family chaos moments and see how we can transform them to calm. My name is Noelle Kirchner, and I'm a minister, writer, and mother of 2 young boys. What is particularly appealing to me is exploring how faith can inform those everyday decisions that we make as parents. Faith can help us make wiser choices that can bring true fulfillment. Ultimately, faith can help us move from chaos to calm. This series airs a new episode each month for the duration of the school year, and I begin each episode by sharing pictures, your pictures. I want to feature your chaos moments so that everyone knows they are certainly not alone in the chaos, but I also want to capture those calm moments that make everything we do as parents worthwhile. Today's episode is about the holidays, and our first chaos picture follows suit. I find there's often a difference between the scene in my head and what's actually caught on camera, whether that's on Santa's lap or, in this case, at a Christmas pageant. Our second picture shows a fun brand of chaos. Who else has an elf on the shelf who's up to mischief? Our final chaos picture shows how we can spend so much time preparing for a moment that's over in an instant. My hope is that after this episode, we can walk away with what is truly enduring this season, while enjoying the trimmings too. Our first calm picture is of a friend and her daughter enjoying a ride in their pajamas on the Polar Express. I love the special memory making that's unique to the holidays. Our second picture is of a father and son walking in the snow. Stealing away for quiet moments of quality time can be therapeutic, especially this time of year. Our final calm picture is of warm, cozy socks by the fire. My favorite holiday memories include snuggling up for a classic Christmas movie or a reading of the Christmas story as a family. There are indeed several endearing characteristics of the season. The problem is they're often lost. In today's episode entitled, The Chaos of Holiday Hecticness, we're going to try to find calm and get them back. We don't have to live too busy to experience peace or too distracted to experience the gifts of the season. I'm going to talk with 2 colleagues and fellow pastors about how they navigate the sometimes hectic nature of Christmas with intention. I'm delighted to welcome our first guest, Pastor Don Steele of Central Presbyterian Church in Summit. Don has been a pastor for over 32 years and has been the head pastor at Central since 2013. Welcome, Don. It's wonderful to have you here, and I've really enjoyed getting to work with you as a parish associate.
The same.
And I'm hoping that you can share a little bit about your background for the benefit of our TV audience.
Sure. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm the youngest of 2 boys. I've been married for 30 years. We have 2 boys, the youngest of which is a senior at Rutgers. And I went to college at the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. Did my Bachelor's of Arts. I did Master's of Divinity at Princeton Theological Seminary.
I knew I liked you.
There you go. And then I have a Master's in Adult Education from Penn State University. I've served congregations in the Pittsburgh area, served as an associate pastor doing youth ministry there. I've been served a congregation in Scarsdale, New York, another congregation near Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and now I'm happy to be here in Summit.
Wow, well, it sounds like you really made your home kind of in the East Coast area.
Absolutely. It's a home for my entire life, and family roots are here as well.
Well, it's great to have you on this local show that is going out to the East Coast, and I'm hoping that you can just share some of your wisdom over those many years of serving as a pastor. I want to start by asking you, what is a favorite childhood Christmas memory of yours?
Well, Christmas memory for me as a child would be Christmas morning, waking up. In my family, we were taught, my brother and I, that Santa brought us one gift. Each of us got one gift from Santa. We could make that a nice gift, but we could ask Santa for one gift. I asked my mother about that one time, and she said, well, that was because Santa had all the boys and girls to take care of, not just me, not just my brother, and a small sleigh, and had to fit it all in. So we got one gift. And it was a nice gift and wrapped on Christmas morning in red tissue paper.
Wow.
So we'd come out and look for that gift, by all means, the red tissue paper gift, and the tree would be loaded with candy canes that Santa had also put on our Christmas tree. A ton of candy canes all over the tree, and then this one box with red tissue paper on it that was the Santa gift.
Wow, I can imagine. I have two little boys now, them honing in on that gift and running straight for it.
Absolutely, every year that's where we went, was right to that gift, ripped off that tissue paper to see what Santa had brought us.
What is the significance of the candy canes? You mentioned that Santa brought those too?
Right. So the candy canes then were on our tree, and then in our family, between Christmas and New Year's, it was kind of like a continuous open house. Cousins and neighbors and everybody would be coming through the house, and when kids came by, they got a candy cane off of our tree, kind of a gift from Santa for them whenever they came to visit through that week.
Wow, so there was a gift for you and there was a gift to share.
Yes, absolutely.
Was your parents' intention to teach you sharing and to teach you maybe the gift of hospitality to others? What do you think was behind that?
I think both of those were lessons. I think they did want us to understand how important it was to share, but I think they really had it in mind that we would come to understand kind of a central part of Christmas was to welcome others, as Mary and Joseph were welcomed on that first Christmas when they went to Bethlehem, and there was we see in the Bible no room, but there was room. There was a place for them and for their baby to be, and I think that that was a part of the story of Christmas that was so central to my parents, and what my parents wanted us to understand as children was that was an important part of what it was to celebrate Christmas, was to open our doors and welcome people and to make them feel at home.
So it's almost as if there was a ministry in how they approached Christmas in your experience as a child.
Absolutely. I think that they had a real sense that they wanted us to live in a way that reflected what the story of Christmas was about as they understood it.
There's also a sense, as I listen to your story, of decluttering. You know, I ask my children for their Christmas gifts, and they could be a mile long if I'd let them. You know, picking one gift, that can be hard for some kids. That, in some sense, is an early discipline. You know, to think and be intentional in your choice and thinking that even as a child.
It can be, and I think how it got pulled off for us was that it wasn't ever presented as a decluttering so much as it was what would be really meaningful and wonderful for you. So it presented more in that kind of that positive way. So that those gifts that I got from Santa, I still, how many years later, I still remember what some of them were because they were so special. Mm-hmm. And so rather than feeling like a deprivation, I actually felt like I got this wonderful gift, my sled, or the huge styrofoam Lego building blocks that I got one year from Santa that I still remember. They were so special and wonderful that, as I say, I still remember them all these years later. And I think my parents had a knack of helping us to understand it not as something we were losing, but as something actually we were gaining, this very special thing.
I like that. I think that, you know, we can blindly give gifts, but what I hear as a writer in the parenting space is a lot of parents wanting to do exactly what it sounds like your parents did naturally. Give gifts, but have them come with meaning, have them come with special purpose. I've heard of one tradition that just as the wise men brought 3 gifts to baby Jesus, they want to pick 3 gifts that they give their children. And they serve different things, the body, the mind, and the spirit.
Great idea.
So something for the spirit, like a favorite Bible, something for the body, like a new dress if it's a little girl, and something that children can play with and enjoy, you know, in a physical way as well. But I love that kind of arc of thinking about the significance of what we're giving, not just what we're getting. So tell me a little more about that hospitality vein. I know Central has such a rich history of service in the community. Have you felt a connection between your early childhood experience and what you're trying to do now as a pastor?
I really do, and Central is very special in that way, it seems to me, in the way that Central has reached out into the community and the world around us with a strong emphasis on trying to help others and be caring for others. And so I really sense I have always sensed a real connection here, because that's at the heart of what, as I see it, what our Christian faith leads us to, is this a desire to open our arms and our hearts and our minds and our doors to all kinds of people, to welcome them in Jesus' name, as Jesus welcomed people in his life and ministry.
That's wonderful. Can you think of an experience that you had as an adult in recent years that really was a concrete example of that in your own life?
In my own life, we had a practice when we lived in Scarsdale that has continued to the present day, where Christmas Eve, which is a busy time for us, we have a post-Christmas Eve gathering of friends. And those friends will come from all walks of life and various religious backgrounds, but feel welcomed at the service that we hold, which is important. And then they come to our house, and we gave up a long time ago the perfect Christmas, like the picture Christmas. And we instead just have snacks, and what we really get to do is share time with each other, our friends and family members, and emphasize how important we are to each other. And we do that every Christmas Eve. It's late into the night, but gathering with friends and family just to celebrate and be with each other and to enjoy each other's company.
Well, it sounds like a lot of fun, but also a meaningful time.
Absolutely.
So what is this service? Is this Central's service, this Central's Christmas Eve service that you're talking about?
Right. So Central's Christmas Eve service, there's 2, but there's the candlelight service, which is a service that happens at nighttime and ends with Silent Night and the little candles that everybody holds, a really holy moment. But it seems to me it's a moment that all kinds of people can feel included, and should, because the intention here is not to put up some kind of barriers to people. It's the welcome, the hospitality that we've known in Christ that we want to show to our neighbors all around, that they're welcomed here, whether they're here every Sunday or this is the first time in the doors. It doesn't really matter. We're really happy to spend time together with them.
I love that focus, Don. Thank you so much for sharing with us a little bit about your history and also your present ministry in Summit.
Thank you. It's been great to be with you.
By nurturing a spirit of hospitality with candy canes from Santa, Don's parents were sure to pass on an important message that influences his life today. Their emphasis on people coming together is such a powerful holiday message in a society that can sometimes seem so fragmented and wary of others. My next guest is Pastor Debra Huggins, who serves as Associate Pastor at Central Presbyterian Church in Summit with Don. Her responsibilities include overseeing the children and youth ministries of the church. She has a background in education and came to Central last year. Welcome, Debra.
Hi, Noelle. It's so great to be with you.
Well, I am delighted to have you here. Not only are you a fellow mom and a pastor, but you're a friend, and you're such a treat to talk to, so I can't wait for the TV audience to get to know a little more about you.
Well, you are so sweet. What a great introduction. Thank you.
would you mind telling, for the benefit of the TV audience, a little more about yourself and your background?
Of course. So I started life as an educator. I taught special education in New Mexico and have a master's degree in special education. My father is a pastor, a Presbyterian pastor, and my mother is actually a recently ordained commissioned ruling elder, which is like a lay pastor. And so I'm a double pastor's child.
Double whammy.
Double whammy. And so I was pretty sure that my call was teaching, that was going to be where I was. And of course, God has different plans for our lives sometimes, and I was called into ministry first as a Christian educator, and then to seminary, and continuing studies in disability as well, looking at how we can be more inclusive and welcoming of people with disabilities in the church. And so I have lots of experience in both education and now in ministry as well.
Wow, that's wonderful. And such a varied perspective I'm hearing between education and growing up as a PK, pastor's kid, you know, so many different breadths of perspective that you bring to the work that you do. I know you've already made such an impact at Central.
Well, I really think, in looking back, it's amazing how God can use every part of our lives. As I look back at all of the different things I've done, I really feel that design in the different paths I was called to and how they come together. And now in my work, not only showing children that they're God's children, that they're all children of God, but also their parents, and helping parents come alongside their children and teach them about faith. I really feel like drawing on my educational background and ministry is just such a powerful way to help everybody learn how to better understand our faith as part of our walk as parents and as children.
Absolutely. Well, you're speaking of parents is a great segue into my first question. I remember when we were talking previously about the holidays, you had mentioned that when you and your husband came together, you came from very different Christmas traditions.
Yes.
And so as parents of your 3 children, you wanted to be intentional about what you chose to celebrate. So can you share with us one tradition that you started as a couple and that you continue to practice today?
Yes, of course. So I think one of the big jobs that every family has to do is to figure out these holiday traditions. And my husband's background and my background were different, and we wanted to enjoy the best parts of both of our family traditions. And one thing that kind of came out of my house and then evolved a little bit as we came together was the way that we use a nativity set. And so we have this kind of crazy amalgamation of different nativity sets that our children hold dear now. We have another beautiful nativity set that our children know to look with their eyes and not with their hands. But we have
Have those.
But we have one that's just for the kids, and one that they have always been able to play with. When they were toddlers, they would put it in their mouth, so it had to be toddler-proof, choking-proof. The dog even got a little corner of one of the angel wings, and it's by far. Also, one of the funny things is it's actually 2 sets brought together, and so there are tons of wise men. They're not just 3; they're like 6 of them, plus camels and different animals. It's really kind of fun. So we decided that we were going to put our nativity underneath the Christmas tree and really have it front and center as a way of saying this is what Christmas is about in our family, and this is who we are. A way of also sharing and teaching our kids about our faith. And so when our oldest was a baby, we started talking during Advent about what Advent was. And so we put out just the little arch and just the manger and put out animals. And we talked about how Jesus was born in a stable. And we put the different parts of the nativity in different places. We put Mary and Joseph in the south because they came from Nazareth. And we put the...
Wow.
Right?
So you had to get a compass out
Oh,
to
yeah,
set up this nativity.
We put the wise men in the eastern part of the house, which is also like, in one house that we lived in, the Christmas tree was right by the eastern wall. But anyway, we worked that out, and we put the angels up high because they came on high, and we would read the story, and for it to be like, well, the shepherd should be in the flocks nearby, and so we had this whole house arrangement of the nativity. And each week of Advent, a different person would arrive on scene. So Mary and Joseph arrived the first week, and then the second week, there's this complicated thing where the angels come and talk to the shepherds, and the shepherds come. And then the third week, where you have the pink candle, the angels arrive, and then finally on Christmas Eve, right before church, they put baby Jesus in the manger.
So where is baby Jesus all this time?
Hidden in various places. And there's always
probably a game too.
There's always a little stress of where do we put the baby Jesus? You know, like, oh no, but usually it goes in grandma's desk. So fairly safe. But you know, like you have to make sure the cat doesn't find, you know, but you can't lose baby Jesus.
You can't lose baby Jesus.
Can't lose
wow,
baby
this
Jesus.
sounds like so much fun. I want to do it.
Right, and then finally the piece de resistance is after Christmas, after Jesus is born, then the wise men take 12 days to arrive at Epiphany.
And you have a throng of wise men, so
Yeah,
this
right.
is a lot of coordination.
A lot of coordination, absolutely. So there was this funny thing. You mentioned that we moved all the way from New Mexico to New Jersey. I took on a whole new role in my family life, and we have a daughter who has a Christmas Eve birthday. So you can imagine how busy the Christmas season gets. And I thought, well, I'm just going to simplify. I'm going to put the whole nativity underneath the Christmas tree, and we'll be fine. Well, it was really funny because I put everything out underneath the Christmas tree, and my kids were like, no, where are the angels going to go here in our new house? Well, they have to go up high somewhere. Let's put them up here. And they were talking. They're like, which direction do Mary and Joseph come from? What town is that from? Oh, I think they're from Nazareth. Mom, is that the north or the south?
Wow.
And I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, not only have they been listening to this story, but they've really learned the story of the coming of Christ among our midst from this simple little game that we played all these years. And here they were at 7, 9, and 11, not only retelling and reliving the Christmas story, but, you know, finding the wise men in the East, and that was so important to them. And so much a part of their understanding of the Christmas holiday that they were able to recall all of these details about the story.
Wow.
And I realized in that moment, like, how important that time taking had been as children and kind of that work of early, because it's hard when they're little. Mm-hmm. There's so much, and it can feel so overwhelming. But I realized that extra time that I'd been able to put in when they were little and build that tradition and think about it with my husband, that had become a part of our family identity, my kids' Christian identity, and part of who they know themselves to be in God's care, that they lived that story. And so, of course, this year, the angels went in the right place and the shepherds in the right place right away. And so we have everybody in all of their spots.
Wow, that is such successful teaching, but also very heartwarming to hear as a parent. I mean, I think, you know, I have fun in my family decorating the Christmas tree or doing things, but the nativity really symbolizes the true meaning of the season. And when we can get our children excited to mine that story for themselves, I can't think of anything better.
Yeah.
It's really kind of simplifying the kernel of the holiday.
Yeah.
So let's switch topics and talk still about the Nativity, but as it relates to a service at Central. Tell me about your favorite service at Central.
Well, I actually have two, and they're kind of related. One is coming up on December 4th. It's the Living Nativity.
Oh.
And this is where you combine farm animals and toddlers and wings and middle school boys wearing dish towels on their heads. What could possibly go wrong?
Probably a lot, survey says.
It is just such a delightful event. It's really something that the church does as a gift to the city of Summit so that people can really live the nativity, and it's called the Living Nativity for that reason. And families come and they see the kids act out this wonderful nativity scene, and they come in and they have crafts afterward and listen to music and sing carols. And it's something that really brings the community together, and it's so much a part of who we are at Central, being that welcoming place, being that generous place, and I love that.
I think it's important that our audience bookmarks that for future years, because this is something annually that Central does. And while this particular episode will air after that date, it is, like you said, central to Central's ministry to the community, and it is such an important event not to miss with families.
Absolutely. And then the second is we do a walk-on pageant. It will be our second annual walk-on pageant on Christmas Eve, where, again, There's something I really, in thinking about my own nativity set that has the angel that the dog chewed the corner of and the little pieces of paint off, I really love the imperfection of that nativity. And when our children put on angel wings with cow hats, or they put on shepherds coverings with, in the imperfection of it. Mm-hmm. I think it really stresses that we don't need to be perfect to be loved by God, that we don't have to be perfect to be valued by God. And in that moment of imperfection is part of the Christmas Eve pageant and the gentleness and sweetness of children sharing the story with the congregation. I know that I find myself reminded that God loves me just as much as God loves that little child who's maybe gets up to sing and just walks off. And it's those little moments of imperfection that make me remember that I'm completely loved by God, no matter what.
Absolutely. Well, the Christmas pageant is something that we won't miss this year, me and my family. And thank you so much, Debra, for coming on and sharing your insight and wisdom with us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Debra's nativity example shows the power of interaction. Interacting with our children around the Christmas story allows for a simple activity to transform into an eagerly awaited holiday tradition. Traditions that resonate and propagate the true meaning of the season benefit the entire family. Books are another way to engage children in the Christmas message. I especially like Goodnight Manger by Laura Sassy. In the book, baby Jesus cannot sleep because of all the nativity visitors. The story comes alive through Laura's clever rhyming, and my children love the pictures by New York Times bestselling illustrator Jane Chapman. I am so excited to announce that author and educator Laura Sassy will be my guest on the show next month. We'll be talking about building children's faith foundations, and Laura's publisher Zonder Kids wants to help. They have authorized not just one, but 2 giveaways in coordination with Laura's visit. That means 2 bundles of books will be up for grabs, 1 bundle for younger children and 1 for teens. These books promise to make building faith foundations both educational and fun. Stay tuned next month to find out more. In the meantime, I hope you'll attend one of Central's special Christmas services. As Don indicated, all are welcome. Worship dates and times will follow on screen. Please also keep your chaos and calm pictures coming by connecting with me on social media. My contact information will also follow. So until next time, may calm be with you.